Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 7th day of April, 2022. Well, they turned on the irrigation water, and my husband just informed me we've got water. So he'll be, right now it's just for filling stock ponds, and so we have a couple of ponds, and we'll be filling that here today and tomorrow. Well, actually just today. Today's Thursday, so tomorrow morning we kick it down to the neighbor, but we'll at least get some water in the pond today. We've got a goose that's sitting on the deck. She's setting on, or not on the deck, the dock, and she's been there for a while now, so I'm not sure. I can go back and look in my day timer. I wrote down when it appears she started actually setting. So don't know how many eggs are under her. We'll know that when they're born, but we'd like to have the pond a little bit higher. That way when they jump into the pond, it won't be so far of a fall for them. But it still isn't going to be that much of a fall for them. But we also have kind of there's a board that goes down into the pond, and that way they can get back up to the nest. Otherwise, it's like, oh, geez, how are they going to get up there? So anyway, so that's what's been going on here. I hope you guys have had a good week so far. And let's go ahead and take a look at the Esoteric Influences from the weekly post here today. So for Thursday, the 7th, we have a 7 numerology. So analysis, balance, observation, seeking truth, spirituality, also references magic. The rune today in the Esoteric Influences, Fehu, or cattle, wealth, transaction. It's known as ascending rune. Abundance, life force, growth, and success are its keywords. Fortuna Major is the Geomancy Rune in the Esoteric Influences for today. That means greater fortune, success. It can reference the ego, inner assistance. It can also be about micromanaging. The sun's in Aries, the moon's in Gemini until Cancer here in about 20 minutes or so at 8:31 a.m. Planetary governance for work and magic today is Jupiter, so magics that are expansive in nature. It's not in retrograde, so it's outer expansion instead of inner expansion. So for today, carefully analyze any new opportunities that arise so that you gain a better overall understanding. Growth that leads to success is possible, and if a collaborative effort is warranted, avoid micromanaging the experience. In fact, you may reconnect with old partners to help assist the process, especially if they help you understand the greater forces that may be in play. Your ability to create opportunities from challenges will serve you well, as will your strong intuition that helps inform your decisions. And your influence on others will foster a direction that serves all. Examine any mistakes made and make any course corrections necessary, taking full responsibility for your own part in the process today. So let me get rid of that out of the way. I need to move my keyboard too. Let's see. Get that out of the way so I've got room on the desk to work. Let's go ahead and take the first of 2 runes. We're going to take an Elder Futhark rune from the bag here. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I appreciate you coming by. I hope you'll click subscribe and come back. I do this on Mondays and Thursdays of each week. And it's just kind of a fun way to take a look at other influences that can give you a little more information about the experiences you're having in your life. Well, here we have Hagalaz. This is the 9th rune of the Elder Futhark. This is one of the first of 3 Norn runes. The Norns were the ones reportedly who gave Odin the runes while he was hanging upside down from the world tree to gain enlightenment. There's a place where it says sacrificing himself to himself, which means he lost an eye in the process. So anyway, Hagalaz is known as the Witch Rune. It's transformation within a fixed framework, so it's not necessarily transforming everything. You still have your fundamental values and principles, but maybe your perceptions are what need to be transformed today. Let's take a look at the Geomancy Room. That's the above side, the as above side of the as above, so below. Geomancy are earth energies, and so different types of, you can be looking at ley lines, you can throw down runes to create your Geomancy Rune, or you can think of Geomancy as working with pendulums. So it's anything that's earth energy related. So that's why I put that in the below side of as above, so below. So we have, let's see, oh, well, we haven't had Carcer in a while. So that's going to go well, though, with Hagalaz. Let me find Carcer. Looks like a little bird cage, doesn't it? Carcer is about self-imprisonment. Sometimes it's about also finishing something coming to the conclusion and moving on. But the most traditional interpretations is self-imprisonment or oppression. It could be oppression by other people, but feeling contained where you can't really get out of the mode you're in. And so if that's the case, then Hagalaz can help you do that. If this is perception based, because likely it is. But if in other words, if perceptions are holding you back, if they're getting in the way of you moving on, perhaps you need to relook at them, and you can do that with the energy of Hagalaz. Again, as a Norn rune, it's very powerful. Hagalaz, Isa, and Nathiz are the 3 Norn runes, and it's basically talking about, Nathiz talks about the friction within to manifest. And then Isa would be alignment, for example, alignment in spirit. You're talking about, whereas with Nathiz it's inner fire, you're talking with Hagalaz and Isa. It would be hail with Hagalaz, and then ice with Isa. And so it's the idea of something frozen or static. Hagalaz deals with the past. Isa deals with the static realm or the present moment or present moment awareness. And then Nathiz deals with the future. So again, if you're talking about the past with Hagalaz, then you're really talking about how past perception is influencing the present. And you want to transform that perhaps today to something that's a little more realistic, maybe. Something that's going to work better for you. We kind of talked about that, I think, in the last reading on Monday, where we're letting go of some things that are, and maybe manifesting something different, because we had the 10 of Swords, and so, there's the individual dead on the ground, but the light is returning. You can see the darkness lifting, although you don't see the sun per se, you see the yellow light. And so I think that, there we also had the Magician, where you could manifest something new, some new perception, some new awareness, after you let go of perceptions that no longer serve. So in a sense, this reading today, just looking at the runes themselves, it may be that we're still processing that here this week. It's hard to let go of things when especially if it's coming from a group experience, because you've got all that reinforcement from the other people in your group, and so and that can and it doesn't have to be an outside group, an external group in your life. It could be family, for example. But at the same time, by the same token, you want to be your own individual. You don't want to follow the crowd necessarily. I mean, you can get swept up, and then all of a sudden you're thinking about things in a way that you never would have ever dreamed you could do. So somewhere along the line you were influenced. That could be one way of looking at it. Let's see if I can find a spot here for my tea amidst all my stuff here on the altar. On my table. It's not really an altar, but it serves as one sometimes. You can create altars in your home that symbolize different things. You can call them altars. They don't have to be called altars, but that's what I call them. But you can do that. You can say, if you were trying to increase healing or something, you could have just a little display. I mean, we do that, during the holidays. We'll put up holiday decorations. I can remember my mother having these beautiful displays that she'd put up, and in a sense, that's what she was doing. She was creating an image, using imagery basically to change the mood of the house to a holiday one. So Thanksgiving, would be, you'd be thinking about all the things you're thankful for, and she'd just have these gorgeous, I don't know, she'd collect them all and then she'd keep them, and then every year she'd bring it out and change depending on what it was. So there'd be in the spring, you'd have Easter, and because we're coming up here on Easter. So there would be that, and her middle name was May, so she always liked May Day, the 1st of May. So there'd always be flowers and all that, around that. And it just changes the mood. It just changes the mindset. And so, same with Christmas, there would be that. When fall would start, she'd bring out stuff that had fall colors, so she would coordinate everything. Well, there went some cards on the floor. Hang on. Well, let's see. What did I drop? Oh, good Lord. I dropped 5 cards. These things are still really slick. God, when did I buy these? In January? I've just got to start using them more than just here. If I start working with them every day, they'll start getting a little more debilitated looking. Dilapidated, maybe is the better word. Well, okay, so we've got two court cards that are talking to one another. I'll show you what I mean by that. Court cards are interesting in that regard. If you can get them, you can move them around. You can always move your cards around in your reading, but especially if you have court cards, because maybe they have something to say to one another. And in this reading, they do, the way I laid them down. I have the Queen of Swords, the King of Wands, and the Empress. So if we're talking about some self-imprisonment here with Carcer, I don't really... Well, maybe there could be a battle of wills here with the Queen of Swords and the King of Wands. Sounds like she's not going to take any of his nonsense. But Hagalaz could align with the Empress, so let's just put that over there. But let's take a look at the... you can see here, you can see how they talk to one another. They're looking at each other, and it looks like they're having a conversation. Let's talk about the Queen first. Now, the court card is court cards are interesting because they can be looked at in terms of the individual, the individuals themselves, we'll say that. We'll say it that way. On the cards, so either with the page or princess, depending upon the deck, the knight or prince, again, depending upon the deck you're using. You're looking at younger people, with the page or the princess being the youngest. They're going to be the students. They're going to be there you're looking at the qualities of them. Well, not in terms of the student, but they're going to be someone who's they're really akin to the ace and to the fool in that there's undeveloped potential with all of them. Again, being students, they're learning and they're gaining, some life experience before they become then the knight or the prince, who is a little bit older but still youthful. Especially with the knight's energy, very, very, they're very action oriented. Particularly the knights of both the swords and also the wands suits, because wands is the fire element and swords is the air element, and those are considered masculine or projective. They're very active principles, whereas water and earth, which would be cups and pentacles, would be a more receptive presence, and so more passive type of an influence. But here you have a woman sitting on the on the throne here. You see a bird above in the sky. You see clouds around her. But she holds out her hand in offering, her left hand out in offering, while she holds a sword in the right, and it's pointing straight up to spirit. You see some movement here with the trees, so the wind seems to be going this direction. But she's somebody who is a woman in authority, but she's somebody that isn't going to take any crap off people. She's going to cut through the illusion of things. She's going to demand justice and fairness and balance. She's intellectual. She's intelligent. just like the Queen of Wands is. But the difference between the two is that she's a little more focused on truth and expecting that from other people. Enter the King of Wands, dynamic. You see his little fire elemental there, the salamander. He's holding a staff in his hand. You can see the branches or the leaves starting to come out on them there, right at the top. You see the Ouroboros back here. This is probably his, and then this is looks like lions. Also there. But the King of Wands, he's very dynamic. He can be bigoted. He can be somebody who is just a little bit too full of himself. But he's, again, an authority figure, an older man. He's talented, he's successful, he's knowledgeable. He can be a wise counselor. He can be a warrior, but he could also be a mentor. But clearly, she is describing something to him, holding her hand up this way to him. Like she's just telling him, this is how it is. You know, maybe he's wanting something that is unrealistic. Or maybe she's telling him that whatever endeavor he's going to go do, whatever situation he's getting himself involved in, that he needs to be doing it with honor and dignity. You could think of them as parents, the two together. But as wise a mentor as he can be, she's the one that keeps him on the straight and narrow, basically. So you wouldn't want to see a Queen of Wands be married to a King of Wands. You would want to see this type of a interaction instead. You wouldn't want the fire energy to get away from you too much. Although being an air element, you can introduce air into fire and get it going. So, but at the same time, see, she wants him to be fair, and she wants him to be dignified. She wants him to be honest and all of that. So in terms of transforming our perceptions with Hagalaz, and before we get into the Empress here, let's talk a little bit about the runes and how they relate to this. Maybe what we're seeing here is a transformation into a more balanced type of expression between the air element within the intellect versus the will, and the demand for honesty, the demand for truth. Perhaps the impact on or the interaction with Karser then would be: are we kidding ourselves? Are we fooling ourselves? Are we engaging in illusion? And is that in terms of Hagalaz, is that the transformation that needs to take place? Again, I think this is probably just an extension of Monday's reading, where we're to let go of perceptions that don't serve us, that aren't getting us anywhere, that are really clouding our perceptions instead of bringing the light of truth in. And I think that balancing those energies within may be helpful in letting go of, the perceptions that no longer serve, and being able to move forward in some kind of transformative way. Again, this is going to be inner work. It's not probably anything external. But you have to allow the transformation to take hold. And so you have to balance will with intellect. And that may be what we can really take from the Queen of Swords and the King of Wands, particularly as they're talking to one another. She's like, yeah, well, you want to go do that? That's fine. But, be honest about it. Live in truth, basically. She's telling him, live in truth. It's not just about what you want to do. It's not just, getting swept up in other people's ideas, or you're the one that's getting people swept up in your own ideas. It's not about that. It's about if you're going to be talking to people, if you're going to be influencing people, you need to do it from a standpoint of truth. So maybe this is the other side of the coin today. Maybe this is a little more about your own inner authority and how you use that and how you influence others. Are you doing it? Whereas before, it seemed like maybe you were following something. This may be the person you're following that this is talking about, or talking to, or addressing here in the reading. Enter the Empress. Right now we have only, I'm going to probably take one more card here, but right now we just have a 3 numerology because there's no numerology associated with the court. And so we have a 3 numerology. That's triplicity, that's creativity, mind, body, spirit balance. Again, you know, coming to terms in terms of the active polarity. You know, this could basically incorporate both water and earth into it. Into the card, you see the Empress sitting here on her throne. It kind of reclines back. There's abundance all around her. You see her crown of stars. They're really Merkabahs. She holds her scepter in one hand. Her left hand, in her right hand, that's the projective side. The receptive side, her left hand is just resting comfortably on her knee. She's actually pregnant, although it's kind of difficult to see that here. You can see it in other decks, though, more non-traditional decks. You can really see that she's pregnant in those. Here you have the heart-shaped shield with the glyph for Venus on its in the center of it. So beauty and family and love and harmony. So what we're talking about, the harmony here today, though, in terms of the Queen of Swords and the King of Wands, you're talking about the masculine presence within, the projective presence within, and balancing that, how you assert yourself, how you influence people. You need to do it with honesty and with integrity, and not become imprisoned by perception, allowing yourself to take a look at that and let go of things that really aren't useful, or maybe even are harmful if you're using it to influence other people. The Empress says, card 3 of the major arcana. It depends on how you look at this, and we talked about this. I don't know if I talked about this on Monday or if it was the week before, but you're looking at the Fool. If you take the Fool and then the Magician and the High Priestess, that's the Fool taking the leap into form with the Magician and the High Priestess forming what that looks like for the Fool. Okay, you've got the Magician that takes care of the elemental side or the physical side of things, and then you have the High Priestess that takes care of the unconscious or subconscious aspect of self. And then the following card is the Empress. There's not a combination of the Empress and the Emperor like might be suggested in the Lover's card, which is card 6. But we don't see that. We don't see that for a while. We have 2 more cards, past the Emperor before you start to see that type of polarity, and that type of coming together in unity. But with the Empress, she gives birth to the world. She gives birth to creation. And because she's pregnant without any other intervention, right, without any other interaction with the Emperor, that's happening on her own. So whatever she's giving birth to here, it's suggesting that something new needs to take hold. And in terms of Monday's reading, as well as with the Queen of Swords and the King of Wands, I really think that it has to do with how we interact with others, how our perceptions influence those interactions, how much of an effect or impact are we having on other people. So again, whereas Monday was more about the self and how your perceptions impact you, now we're looking at how do they impact other people as well. And I say that because you're looking at the king and queen who have an impact on everyone in their kingdom, you see. So given that they're people in authority, how are you using your inner authority to impact others here today? And what are you giving birth to? What kinds of things are you giving birth to? Are you giving birth to things that are ideas and influences that are based on love and harmony and kindness and the furthering on of in a positive way of life as you know it, or is it are you trying to control the issue? And that would be Karser. Instead of respecting the sovereignty, the personal sovereignty of other people to believe what they believe, and to, are you trying to influence them in a way that is really furthering on your own agenda, or are you doing it in a way that is based on a shared path of truth, if you will, instead of someone's ego that's run amok and now they're out there influencing all these people to do their bidding. That's a lot of what we're seeing right now, at least in terms of the world, trying to control perception in a way that doesn't even begin to reflect truth, doesn't even begin to reflect any type of honor or dignity or integrity. So the Queen of Swords is really reminding us, you need to re-examine that. I think that it aligns very well with the rune Hagalaz, where it's, let's cut through the nonsense of even of our own beliefs. How much of it's realistic? How much of it makes sense? How much of it is grounded in reality? Or are you simply listening to somebody charismatic? Or are you the charismatic individual who's trying to influence people in a way that's not even, that there's nothing to back it up other than just simply your own desire, maybe for power or authority or control? The Empress, though, is suggesting something different, that we come from the place of spirit in our awareness, and come from the place of spirit so that what we do is not predicated upon the ego's hold. You can look at Karser in terms of the ego, and how strong of a hold does the ego have on your perceptions? Or can you break free from the bird cage there and fly towards spirit and allow spirit to inform how you see things in the world, how you see things in your life? I'm going to take the 13th card. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I should just be able to do it. 10, 11, 12, 13. But now if I do that, I'm just going to send them flying. So, but see, the backs are so slick. Here we have the 3 of Pentacles. So another 3 card gives us a 6 for the reading, a numerology of a 6. And there you're talking shared path, but you're also talking about a difference in, like, if you look at the 6 of Pentacles, is it Pentacles? Yeah, I think it is. That's where you see the man of means giving coins to poor people on the ground. There's an element of caste or class system there, where he's not really doing anything to lift them out, but he is providing assistance. So that's really the only positive thing you can say about that card. There's just so much in there that should be happening that isn't. Give them a job. Don't just throw them a few coins. They're not getting up off the ground. But here you have 2 women that have come by to admire this man's work. He's a mason. The implication that is he's done all of this work, this intricate work. It's beautiful. You see 3 pentacles there. And you see a rose right there, which is lovely. The whole thing is about possibility, really, and doing things in interaction. With the 3 can also have to do with interactions, and here with the Mason here, he's interacting with people who are either admiring his work, or because, see, they're potential customers, or maybe they're trying to hire him. But it's the interaction between the effort that you put out and the response you get from other people. So you can look at the triplicity that way. Anything that's in a 3, mind, body, spirit, maiden, mother, crone. We're coming up on the full moon on the 16th. So you're going to look at the maiden phase on the 15th, the mother phase on the full moon itself, and then the crone phase the following day. And you look at the different types of energies that are associated with that. Past, present, future, beginning, middle, end. Anything that reflects that type of progression here. But, the progression here would be that he's learned his craft and now he's plying his trade. And people are coming by and he's gaining customers from it. He's gaining work out of it. So it's that triplicity of experience. You can also look at the triplicity of the fool, the magician, and the high priestess. However, if you leave the fool out of it, you would have the magician, the high priestess, and then the empress. So there's a sense of triplicities implied here with the Empress, that there had to be some manifestation first physically and then subconsciously before she can then give birth to creation. So what are you going to give birth to today? Are you going to give birth to things that where the ego is holding you back and the ego is controlling that expression? Or are you going to do as the Queen suggests and let higher self come in and inform your willingness to be honest, your willingness to have integrity, your willingness to live in balance, to live in truth? In other words, where do you get your truth? Is it from ego or is it from higher awareness or spirit? Because when you do that, when you understand the relationship there and you choose spirit over ego, then you're able to engage in some kind of a balanced fashion with others. Again, with integrity and honor, it's on display for everyone to see. There's nothing hidden. He's out there working in front of everybody. You can see what he's doing. You can tell whether or not he's good at what he does or he's not. But he's worked diligently, and now he's engaging with other people, likely to hopefully get some work, or at least to get some praise for what he's doing, because he's doing a beautiful job. So again, it's that level of integrity that I think began with the Queen of Swords, that also begins with the rune Hagalaz. Of doing your due diligence, paying attention to what really matters, to live in truth versus living in the ego of it all. The King of Wands can do that, but the King of Wands can also be given to ego. And so I think the Queen of Swords, I think the balanced polarity within between the Queen and the King, between the feminine and the masculine, or the receptive and the projective, even though these are both active principle, they're both projective types of elemental influences with air and fire, you're still seeing the willingness to live within the void of creation, which then is then expressed by the Empress, where you come from a place of integrity, where you come from a place of love, where you come from a place of compassion, instead of one that wants to control everything. That's the side of the ego that gets in the middle of everything and just messes everything up, doesn't it? Because pretty soon it's more about your agenda than it is about living in truth. So, lots of work to do this week, isn't there? Anyway, I think that's it. I think that we did it. And think about this. Think about how, think about that balance within. Are you balancing intellect with will? Are you able to bring some wisdom to the experience, or is the ego just running amok? And I think that that's where you have to resolve that, because what you birth from that is going to reflect how that balance is actually struck within you. And then it's going to impact your interactions with other people. So it's like, fly free, little birdie, fly free. Don't be imprisoned by the self. Don't be imprisoned by the ego. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good weekend. We're starting to see my daffodils are blooming, and I can't get my mouse down here. Oh, it's because I've got it upside down. My daffodils are blooming. I got hyacinths blooming. That's kind of cool. Things happen later here on the high desert because we're at 3,000 feet above sea level. So, but I've got trees that are blooming. I think my pear trees are blooming. I'm pretty sure that's what it is that I can see from my house, from inside my living room. I've been staying in because of the pollen being so high right now. But again, we're looking forward to the goslings being born, and they're not ours. They're wild geese. They're Canadians. They come here every year, and she lays her. My husband puts hay out there for her, and she used it to build this humongous nest this year, and they know us. They come and see us, and so it's really cool. They've been doing it now for, oh golly, at least 10 years. So it's just such an exciting time around the place here right now. So. And my husband's thrilled again that the water's on, so now his purpose in life is being fulfilled. It's all he does all season long is water things. So anyway, thanks for watching, and have a good weekend, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.